You are a badass. How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. Note 1. How to be a badass. Do you want to live an awesome life? Would you like to start doing more of what you love? Do you tend to live your life for others instead of yourself? If you answered yes to any of these questions, this book is for you. In this not-so-average self-help book, Jen Sincero pushes us to become self-aware and self-oriented doers. This hilariously inspiring guide allows us to kick our inner bums to the curb and discover a re-inspired sense of purpose. Sincero reinforces the idea that if we don't believe in ourselves, no one else is going to believe in us. In other words, we must be our own biggest supporter, a personal cheerleader, and an ass-kicking rock star to boot. In these notes, we'll cover themes such as money, searching for and finding love, and learning how to take calculated, and maybe some not-so-calculated, risks. You'll see that it's not just about taking risks, but taking the big, hairy, monstrous risks that change lives. Note 2. Stop caring so damn much. This is by far one of the most important overarching themes in the book. Sincero says that we have to stop caring about what everyone else thinks, and to be honest, she's right. We spend so much time worrying about what others think of us, or what they'll say about us if we fail at something. Well, what happens when you succeed? Imagine there's a line in the sand. On one side lies your dream and what you aspire to be, while on the other is your desire to be liked. You may be able to straddle this line for a while, but eventually it will erode away and become a pit. Then all you'll be left with is that pit, and who wants that? What are you waiting for? If you need an invitation, here it is. You are officially invited to Sincero's party of people who don't care. In all seriousness, Sincero points out that we cannot both respect ourselves and our need to be popular. Instead, we have to figure out what we want and go for it. All in, no holding back, and never apologize for being you. Note 3. What is it that you actually want? Other people may think they know who you are, feel they know what is best for you, or even believe they know what you truly want. However, only you have that knowledge and the power to make all of your wants into a reality of haves. The trouble with that idea is actually taking action. How many people have you known to take that leap of faith? Sincero elaborates on this idea in an easier said than done fashion. She points this out to the reader, saying, "We pay a lot of lip service to leaps of faith and following your dreams, but to actually do it is deemed crazy." Figuring out exactly what we want out of life isn't exactly an easy task. Sincero reminds us to be flexible and adventurous, and to keep trying new things until we are able to pinpoint that one thing that really makes us tick. There's no point in chasing something unless you're passionate about it, so keep pursuing new things that interest you. Remember that everything we do helps to get us where we are going. At the same time, things change and people change. What we want today might not be what we want tomorrow, but be patient and allow yourself to figure it out one step at a time. So, you've decided you want to take the leap, but how exactly do you make yourself do it? Note 4. Time for a change. Wanting to is a lot easier than doing. For this reason exactly, Sincero says that in order to make a big change in our lives, we must first change ourselves, or more importantly, how we treat ourselves. First comes the task of what we have to stop doing. If we want to make room for positive thoughts, we must create it by getting rid of negative thoughts. Pessimism, neediness, jealousy, worry, or anything of the sort is doing nothing more than floating around, taking up space in your brain. After managing to get rid of the bad, then and only then can you begin with the good. This is the point where we must start telling ourselves how confident, positive, proud, and impressed we are with ourselves. However, simply doing this is not enough. We have to say it over and over and over again, as many times as it takes to believe it. This step means nothing until we truly believe how great we are and how great our potential is. Lastly, we must not only have a positive perception and belief of ourselves, but we must surround ourselves with people who see us in that same light. Think about it. If we are constantly bombarded with negative energy and people telling us we'll never be able to do whatever it is we want to do, who is that helping? No one. If these are the attitudes of your friends, then drop them. Go ahead and kick them straight to the curb because they aren't doing you any favors here. Ask yourself, if money were no object, what is it you'd want to be doing? And run with it. Note 5. Shit happens. Shit happens. The first thing we have to do is forgive ourselves. Yes, you've made mistakes. Yes, there are things you wish you could take back or change. The difference between the old you and the new you can let it go. If we expect anyone else to forgive us, we have to be the first ones to forgive ourselves. And if they choose not to forgive us, so be it. You absolutely cannot hold onto that guilt any longer if you want to move forward. It's all about not caring what people think. When we don't forgive ourselves, that's when we wind up in the downward spiral of other people's perceptions of us. You have to do what is best for you, own it, and keep moving forward. Sincero reminds us that you can't feel other people's thoughts, only your own. So appreciate your mistakes for what they are, forgive yourself, and learn from them. Make every mishap a step towards success. Note 6. Forgive and forget. Now that we've forgiven ourselves, it's time to forgive those who've wronged us. Forgiveness is not for those we are forgiving. Instead, it's intended to be a release for us. If we allow ourselves to get bogged down in the mess of letting go of bad habits, we may never allow ourselves to move on. But if we do, we set ourselves free. We allow ourselves to find more rewarding relationships and, by extension of this idea, more meaningful lives. To be sure, try to only share your dreams and plans with those who are encouraging and who will be honest with you, but do not mistake negativity for honesty. If someone who you thought was a friend is constantly ridiculing you, telling you that you can't do this or that, or your aspirations are a waste of time, that is someone Sincero wants you to dump. There's no space in your new life for these attitudes, and that's okay. You may lose friends, but all that's doing is making space for new ones. Note 7. Stop what you're doing and get going. Okay. So you've made up your mind, you've gotten rid of the negative thoughts and energy, now what? Now the work actually begins. This is where Sincero tells us that if you want to kick ass, you have to lift your foot off the ground. So that's it. That's what we've got to do. We're not going to accomplish much of anything by sitting around wishing for something to happen. We have to get up, get going, and start doing if we really want to make a change. The key here is to not search for inspiration, which may be the opposite of everything you've ever heard up until this point. Instead, we are told to become our own inspiration. If we want to become the best, we can't rely on anyone else to get us there. No more delays, no more self-pity. It's time to kick ourselves into gear. Self-motivation is certainly trickier than it sounds, but Sincero accomplishes this by bringing about the realization that we can no longer live in fear of what could happen. Rather, we have to live in a mentality of it's going to be hard, but push on anyway. Note 8. Be present now. Sincero enlightens us to the world of being present. She says that being present is key to being happy because it means living in the now. If we live in the past, we become depressed. If we live in the future, we become anxious. We cannot change the past, and to control the future, we have to control the now. We have to be present. So what does being present look like? It means showing up and being there. To be truly present, we have to be aware of what's happening around us and focus on the task at hand. All of our attention and energy should be concentrated on what we are trying to accomplish in that very moment. If we aren't focused on what we are doing, that means we are either worrying about the past or the future, and as we now understand, that isn't helping us in any way, shape, or form. Note 9. Money, money, and more money. If there's one thing this book is big on, it's becoming the most successful we can, and part of that success is financial freedom. However, this freedom we're talking about doesn't mean having more money. It simply means doing more with what you have. In order to get to the place we want to be, we have to understand where we are, a place of abundance. What Sincero means by this is that we have to start living within our means. Our means may look different to each of us, but what's the same is how we treat the situation. We are also advised to define what it is we want in terms of financial goals. We have to specify how much money we want to make or what sort of lifestyle we want to be able to afford. Set realistic goals, make your intentions clear to yourself, and then determine how you're going to get there. Use your resources. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded and who desire to reach similar goals. Read books and magazines. Talk to people who are or have been where you are. Do what's necessary to understand what it takes to get where you want to be, because the only one who's going to get you there is you. Note 10. Stop procrastinating and just do it already. The last and largest point we'll discuss is procrastination. Sincero points out that for a lot of us, there's a waiting game that we like to play. One that doesn't do us any favors, and in fact, does quite the opposite. When we fail to take action, we essentially give up on our dreams. In this book, Sincero presents us with The Big Snooze Game, in which she blatantly points out the fearful mindset too many of us carry around throughout our lives. This debilitating condition prevents us from realizing our true potential. It not only breeds insecurity, but traps us into the life of settling for less. It forces us to settle in our relationships because we think we can't find anyone who will treat us right. It keeps us at the job we hate because we don't have any transferable job skills. It allows us to beat ourselves down until we are settling in every aspect of our lives. But it doesn't have to be that way. The moment you decide to start doing something about whatever it is that you're unhappy with is the moment you stop letting fear control your life. You can change anything you want. You just have to make that decision and go for it. Make a plan and set clear goals for yourself. Allow yourself to believe you can change your situation, and slowly, you will. Note 11. Conclusion. In the end, we have to give ourselves permission to be who we want to be, to have what we want to have, and to go where we want to go. It doesn't matter what anyone else wants for us, because it's not up to them. We have to live our lives the way we want, and part of that is accepting the struggles and challenges that come along with being who we want to be. We can apply these concepts to our personal lives and our professional lives, as well as our finances and intimate relationships. We've accepted the challenge to no longer sit around and be merely dreamers. Instead, we will be doers. We have to make our choices and be unapologetically ourselves, because at the end of the day, no one else is going to create the incredible lives we want for us. So we'd better get going and start being the badass people we were meant to be.